everyone, I realised I haven't done a review for a little while, so the last book that I have finished and I still have my own copy of is 7 Stones to Stand or Fall by Diana Gabaldon. This is a collection of 7 short stories set in the Outlander world. Outlander, for those of you that don't know, follows the story of Claire Randall as she's thrown back through a magic stone circle in the Highlands of Scotland to 1743, where through a series of very structured events she ends up marrying a young Jamie Fraser to basically save her own skin, and so begins the greatest marriage ever written. 7 Stones to Stand or Fall is a collection of short stories. Well, they're not really short. Diana doesn't do short. They're a collection of novellas in short story form that focus on some of the secondary characters within the Outlander universe. 5 of these stories have been published before, so people are sitting there going, I don't want to buy a brand new book for 2 new stories. I completely understand where you're coming from. 20 quid is a lot to fork out, and it's a big book to get on your shelf. You know, this, like I say, she don't do little. But I would say, if you do not have any of the short stories and you are a fan of Outlander, this would be well worth picking up because it covers everything that's been released previously. So you have The Custom and the Army, Space Between, Plague of Zombies, A Leaf on the Wind of All Hallows, Virgins, A Fugitive Green and Besieged, the last 2 being the new stories. Custom and the Army, Plague of Zombies and Besieged all follow Lord John Grey, who is, I suppose, a friend of Jamie Fraser from Voyager onwards. And Diana likes taking him and putting him in situations of significance that happen around the time sort of 1760 onwards, so the big military events that happen. He's the ideal character to shove into that situation and tell stories. The Space Between is a story set in France following Michael Murray, who is the older brother of young Ian Murray. And A Leaf on the Wind of All Hallows follows the story of what happened to Roger Mackenzie's parents. And I have to say, it's probably one of the most heartbreaking short stories I've ever read. It's a real gut-wrencher. And it slightly ties in to An Echo in the Bone, which at the time I hadn't read, so you don't need to read it to understand it. I mean, that's the beauty of these short stories. You don't need to read these to get the story in this. You can quite happily cope without it. Then there's Virgins, which is a official prequel to the Outlander series and is set in France when Jamie Fraser is 18 and his best mate Ian Murray is 20. A Fugitive Green tells the story of Minnie and Hal just prior to their meeting and marriage, and is an interesting look at another strong-willed woman within the Outlander universe, who, yeah, she's got a way of handling herself, but she's also very impulsive, which can get her into trouble. And A Fugitive Green is the other new story. So I would say, out of all these stories, my favourites are still A Plague of Zombies, because zombies, and A Leaf on the Wind of All Hallows. But Besieged and A Fugitive Green are nice little excerpts into the lives of their characters that we don't necessarily get to see in the main books. So if you don't have any of the short stories, I would suggest picking this up because there's 7 very, very good stories in there, and there's certainly one in there for everybody. I will say, if you only want to read Outlander because of Jamie and Claire, the main characters in the main books, then you're going to be disappointed. The Jamie story in here, Virgins, which probably most of you have read already, it's a younger Jamie, and I would say he's a different person to the one we meet in the books. If you are not a Lord John Grey fan, you're not going to enjoy 3 of the stories in this book. And there's not a lot I can say that will change your mind. If you are not interested in any of the history of some of the other characters, then also you're not going to enjoy a couple of stories in this book. How you enjoy this book, it depends on how you want to engage with your characters. if you want to know more about some of the other characters in the Outlander universe, you're going to like the book. You're going to enjoy the stories because they are little pieces out of a person's life. That's all they are. But they're enjoyable pieces and they're well-written pieces. And certainly there are moments where I found myself having a moment and thinking, that was quite beautiful, or yeah, that said it just right. If you can handle having stories that aren't on your main two characters, then you will enjoy this book. But if you can't handle that, then I would suggest staying away from these stories. Don't pick up this book because you will be disappointed. I was fortunate enough, my husband brought this back for me on Thursday after publication date. And as I was flicking through, I discovered that my edition is actually a signed copy, which is really bizarre because there was no sticky label on it to say signed edition. There was nothing to tell us it was a signed edition. So when I opened it up to have a good look inside, because new book, I was really surprised to find it was signed. I instantly went online to go and check it. It was actually a proper signature. Yes, it was. So I'm quite chuffed about that. So I don't know if in the UK, scattered around in bookshops, there are some signed editions just sitting on the shelf waiting to be discovered. I mean, if there is, good luck finding them. I don't know what the system is for dishing out signed books. I've never quite got the hang of that. But, you know, you might find one. So 7 Stones to Stand or Fall. It's a great book if you don't have any of the Outlander short stories. The 2 new stories, whether you'll enjoy them or not, depends on if you are interested in the main characters that are featured in them. I personally enjoyed it. I would still say my favourite short stories would be A Plague of Zombies and Leaf on the Wind at All Hallows, because they just, one's great fun and one is an emotional punch. So I like them for 2 very different reasons. But I would say A Fugitive Green kind of has a little soft spot because I like Minnie. She's a little bit daring in a time when women really can't be that daring at all. Let me know if you read it, what you thought of it, and which are your favourite Outlander stories in it. Thank you very much for watching. Please follow me on Goodreads, Twitter and Instagram. Links, as always, are down below in the box. And happy reading, everyone.